Hi friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. A little while ago I hit 1,000 subscribers. I am over 1,000 now, and I just want to thank each and every one of you. As part of my 1K celebration, I asked you guys to submit questions on that video for a future Q&A. Today I am filming that Q&A. Some of the questions were very similar, so I will be grouping them. The first questions that I was getting a lot of are about my coloring books, or coloring books in general. I filmed one video about my coloring book collection, and it has since grown, but hopefully soon I'll be able to do an updated coloring book collection if you guys are interested in that. If you are, let me know in the comment section. But for now, you guys were interested, the journey of that coloring book that I sent out, the first ever traveling coloring book, and I do have some updates for you. It has gone to 4 or 5 people now, and they always use the hashtag that I told you guys about, which is LMC Traveling CB, which is Lavender Mud's Traveling Coloring Book. So if you're ever interested, look on Twitter, look on Instagram using that hashtag, and you will see, but I will insert a couple of pictures for you as well. I love each and every one that has participated so far. It's just been ladies. I would love to get a guy to participate in it, but like I said on that video, people that are interested in participating are leaving their information on that video, and people have been contacting people on, from that comment section of that video to ask, are you still interested and stuff like that. So that's how our people are reaching out to people interested if they're looking for someone to send it to. But yeah, I'm really excited about that project. It's a lot of fun. And then someone asked me what my favorite coloring book was, and I think it's going to be this one that I'm sending around. Like I said in the original video, it's traveling around and everybody's giving me a piece of their artwork, even though that maybe the illustration's already there and they're not creating their own unique. Everybody's using different mediums, different colors, different techniques, and they're experimenting and exploring the world of art, and at the end this is going to be a masterpiece. So I'm super excited that it's still traveling around and everybody sends me updates about it, and it is a slow process because most of the pages are 2-page spreads, and especially going into this holiday season, it's a very busy time. People are working, and so yeah, it's a slow process, but I think at the end it's totally going to be worth it to have this masterpiece. So thank you for all the questions about the coloring books. It's probably going to be my favorite. There's the updates about it and everything like that. So now, taking off a little bit from the coloring book section, I want to move into my favorite authors. A couple of people were wondering my favorite author of the moment, and some of you guys were wondering about who my all-time favorite author is. Now, I honestly cannot choose just one because that's way too hard to choose just one of the moment and one of all time. I can't do it. Some of my favorite authors are Kim Savage, and I also like Kathleen Glasgow that wrote Girl in Pieces. I also recently read and really enjoyed The Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. I haven't tried any of her other books yet, but I really did enjoy The Savage Song, so I'm going to put her on the list as a favorite of the moment. Also, the author that wrote, and I'm forgetting her last name, I think it's Evie is the last name. I'm forgetting the first name, but she wrote The Graces, and I'm really enjoying that book. So yeah, so those are some of my current favorite authors. My all-time favorite author, I really do not know who my all-time favorite author is. I really love Rainbow Rowell. I really love Lois Lowry. I really like Patricia Cornwell. I really like, there's so many, Maggie Stiefvater. There's so many that I love all time. So yeah, so it's really hard to choose an all-time favorite author or a current, favorite author. So I have several that I really turn to and I really enjoy. So those are a few of my favorites. The other questions that I got a lot of is what got me into reading? Was there a particular book? Who or what got me into reading? And I have talked about this a little bit before, or at least I believe I have. But what got me into reading was just books in general. I didn't have a grandparent, or my mother or my father never really sat down and read to me that I remembered, and that's what sparked my love of reading. I just always loved it. I remember when I was very young, I read the Babysitters Clubs, and this is when they were individually still coming out, and you had to wait until the next, book in the series came out. I also really enjoyed Sweet Valley High. I liked Sweet Valley High because I always wanted to be a twin. And me and my sister obviously were not twins. She's 4 years younger than me. But yeah, so I loved the twin aspect. I loved how, they would like dress the same, but their personalities were so different. They also did liked horseback riding, and I liked horseback riding, even though I've never ridden a horse, fun fact. But the Babysitters Club I really loved it because it was a group of female girls that were friends. And when I was reading them, it was at like elementary and middle school, I had a group of girlfriends as well. And I also did babysitting. So I really liked that I could relate to the characters in the story, and I felt like I was just reading about my friends. So those are the two book series without a doubt that got me into reading. After that period of my life, what continued my love of reading is my stepmother would take me and my sister to the library, and we would check out books and stuff like that. So I got into the habit of doing that, and that's when I started reading like older type books, like adult books, even though I was still in middle school and high school. I started reading Patricia Cornwell at that time, and and John Grisham, and I think it was just John Grisham and Patricia Cornwell. I really like John Grisham because since second grade, I wanted to be a defense criminal lawyer, and a lot of his books revolve around like that type of lawyer, environment, characters, you know what I'm saying? So I read him for a very long time, but I kind of dropped off with him as I, turned into an adult. But I really still love Patricia Cornwell, and it's not like I don't like John Grisham. I just haven't really read him in a very long time, and nothing's like spurring, my desire to pick up a John Grisham book. But Patricia Cornwell has remained one of my favorites. I actually have like a whole shelf of her books up there, and I only really read like maybe the first 10 books of hers. Her books tend to be on the chunky side. And then I just kind of stopped reading because I took a reading break, So basically she would take us to the library, and then as I got a little bit older and I was in high school, like my junior and senior year, me and my best friend Tara would always go to the library. Like that was our cool place to hang out, and we would go check out memoirs and biographies and like crafting type books and and magazines. Like we just had a lot of fun with it. We actually created our own zine at one point. So I've always had a fond place for like the library and reading, and I love the library specifically because when you go to a bookstore, you're not going to or more times than not, I'm not going to say all of the time, but I feel more inclined in a library to try something new as opposed to going to the bookstore and buying a book for $20 that I may or may not like, or that I may not, I've never heard of the author before, or I've never read this genre before. But in the library, it's like free reign, get whatever you want. If you don't like it, you're returning it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So that's kind of my reading journey, what got me into reading, and a little bit about that. I hope that wasn't too boring. Actually, okay, so going back to my reading. Okay. So after high school, I joined the Army. I don't know if a lot of you know that or not, but I was in the Army for several years. And during that time, I was working, I was doing military stuff, and I didn't read. So I took quite a break from that. Every once in a while, I would pick up a Patricia Cornwell book, but it wasn't until a few years later that I actually started reading again. I would always pick up Patricia Cornwell books or just like random books that sparked my interest by the cover and the synopsis and that type of thing. But then what really got me into the young adult market was Rainbow Rowell's Eleanor and Park. I read that book. I absolutely loved it. I loved the writing. I loved the characters. I loved the themes. oh, I just loved it so much. And I've always kind of been a fan of contemporary as well as like mystery solving thriller-esque type stuff. But Eleanor and Park really got me back into reading, specifically young adult for the first time. And I just started picking up Rainbow Rowell book after Rainbow Rowell book. I started watching BookTube, and I would just hear about great books from you guys. So I started reading, and now I have a whole collection of books all over again. I used to have a collection a long time ago, but from moving and, you know, stuff like that, they're pretty much all gone. I don't have any of like my original Babysitters Club books or Sweet Valley High or anything like that, but yeah, I have a whole new collection of books now. So the last question I'm going to answer in this Q&A is, someone asked me about my favorite contemporary romance, and as you guys know, I am a fan of contemporary romance. There's some people out there that, you know, just snub their nose at it, but it is my favorite, and I'm gonna make a whole nother video talking about my favorite contemporary romances, so stay tuned for that. I will link that video in the description of this video once I make that video. So those are the only questions that I'm going to be answering today. I still do have a whole nother set of questions that are more unique and individual that I will answer in a separate Q&A video. But that's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about me, and I'll see you again in my very next video. Bye!